How's everybody doing? This is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I come to you a little bit differently. Instead, I got the green screen behind me for the seamless background effect. We need that today because we're going to do a little bit of reading, a little bit of article digging about today's topic, which you saw in the title. It's about these kids going to Cornell, I suppose, very intelligent, very high IQ kids going to Cornell, engaging in crazy identity politics. This article was written by somebody from the Libertarian Republic, which is what you see right here on the screen before you. It's a little bit chopped off on the right-hand side there, but I want to give them some credit. So let's just jump straight into it. Now, before we get into the actual meat of the actual video, let's look at this picture right here, which is very interesting. Now, these, of course, are the kids at Cornell, Ivy League school, high IQ, I suppose. And you see them, they got all their fists up. You know, they're the black resistance on campus. They probably some of the only African-American kids there. And you see what they have as far as their little flag here. Now, the most obvious thing is the black fist, or the fist on the black background in the center of their actual flag. That's pretty much, a dead giveaway as to what that is. But you see BSU. Now, you would think, if I didn't tell you they went to Cornell, you would think that's probably their university letters. No. This stands for Black Students United. This is their little group that they have. And the colors on the flag are very interesting because I know what that is. That is the Pan-African flag, which is hilarious. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And the colors are a little off, though. I would say that, the red is a little bit too red. It was almost like a maroon color. And the green is kind of like a weird, like a wintergreen gum kind of green. It's not really the kind of green you would see on the RBG flag, but I digress. Let's get straight into the article and read what's going on. The headline states, Black student group complains Ivy League school, Cornell, which is where they go, is letting in too many African students. Okay, they're black and they're complaining about too many Africans and Caribbeans as well, but we get into that. Cornell University's Black Students United demanded the university start recruiting more Black American students because the campus has too many African and Caribbean students. And that was on Wednesday, when it was, I suppose, last week. Black Students United, a group for students identifying with the African diaspora, handed university president a list of 12 demands. We'll get into those a little bit later, with one of them dealing with the disproportionate representation of African students compared to Black students on the campus. We demand that Cornell Admissions to come up with a plan to actively increase the presence of underrepresented Black students on this campus. We define underrepresented Black students as Black Americans who have several generations, more than two, in this country, the group stated in their demands. Now, okay, the funny thing about this is that some of these people that are in this group are probably like big time Trump haters. They say he's a racist for being nationalist, but in reality, they are nationalists. They're like the white folks back in like the, early part of the 20th century that would say we don't want any Polish people, no Irish people, no Italians. They're the same one as them. They're white, but they don't want other kinds of whites to come into the country. That's the same thing that's going on here. We only want to deal with white Americans. We don't want to deal with anybody that came over here recently, even though they're still white. That's what's going on with these black kids going to the college. And it's funny how they'll say how everything about white people is racist, is that and the third, but they adopt many of their core ideology. The same thing with calling people coon and stuff like that. Remember in Forrest Gump, Forrest was going to a school that was becoming integrated, and then one of the white kids that was with him called a black kid a coon. That's what they do. They are like old school racist whites, but then they want to talk about being all for racial equality and justice. But I digress. Let's keep going. Now, Black Students United takes issue with the fact that there are more African and Caribbean students on campus when compared to the Black students. The group defines Black students as those who come from Black families that lived in America for 2 or more generations. While the group said it doesn't mind the university trying to recruit African students, they want the college to pay more attention to Black students whose families have been affected by years of white supremacy. Again, the language they use is that of those who they say are oppressing them. It's really crazy. The Black student population at Cornell disproportionately represents international or first generation African or Caribbean students. While these students have a right to flourish at Cornell, there is a lack of investment in Black students whose families were affected directly by the African Holocaust in America. Cornell must work to actively support students whose families have been impacted for generations by white supremacy and American fascism. Wow. The demands from Black Students United came after a Black student alleged that a fraternity 5 Upside members brutally assaulted him and called him an N-word. The demands also called for the frat to be shut down and give up his house to students of color to gather. Wow. Why you that's the whole thing. Why do you want to take over? Why do you want to move into the place where the white person had? Like, you have your own house, I suppose. Maybe you don't for your little Black student group. Maybe that's what this is all about. You just want to kind of like move in and take over because you don't have your own thing established. It's weird. But you know what? Let's go ahead and see. Before we get to the actual demands, which I do have a list of demands, we get into those. Let's see why the whole Pan-African thing is so ironic. Let's go back up. You see them with the flag, red, black, and green, and yet they're talking about not wanting to be conflated with people that came from the African continent and also those that are of African descent that came from the Caribbean, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica, etc. Now, this article about Pan-Africanism from Wikipedia is pretty accurate. I know Wikipedia is not the best source of information, but this is accurate because I know about Pan-Africanism. Let's read right quick. We won't read too much. We're just going to read this first little couple paragraphs. Now, you see the flag, right? You see the flag right over here. This is red, black, and green. Okay, I know what the flag looks like. And you see the fist. They probably just came straight here and took this and put it on the flag, because normally when you see a Pan-African flag, it's just this right here. Maybe the lines are horizontal, sometimes they're vertical, but you rarely ever see this. They probably came here and did that. But again, I digress. Let's read what it says here on the left-hand side of your screen. Pan-Africanism is a worldwide intellectual movement that aims to encourage and strengthen bonds of solidarity between all people of African descent. Based upon a common fate going back to the Atlantic slave trade, the movement extends beyond continental Africans with a substantial support base among the African diaspora in the Caribbean, Latin America, and the United States. It is based on the belief that unity is vital to economic, social, and political progress and aims to unify and uplift people of African descent. The ideology asserts that the fate of all African peoples and countries are intertwined. I'm going to read that one more time. I kind of stumbled on it a little bit. The ideology asserts that the fate of all African peoples and countries are intertwined. Okay, so that means if you come from the continent of Africa, if you come from the Caribbean, if you come from Latin America, if you come from the United States, you all have a common interest as Black people, as people that are descendants of Africans or Africans yourselves. You are all together. That's the whole meaning behind Pan-Africanism, right? It's about all people that come from African descent to come together as one. It's not about, nationalism in the United States. At its core, Pan-Africanism is a belief that African peoples, both on the continent and in the diaspora, share not merely a common history, but a common destiny. The Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, was established in 1963 to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its member states and to promote global relations within the framework of the United Nations. The African Union Commission has its seat in Addis Ababa, which is in Ethiopia, and the Pan-African Parliament has its seat in Johannesburg and Midrand. So like, what more needs to be said? You see the black fist, you see the colors, you see what the definition is. So maybe they should change their flag to an American flag and talk about being an American nationalist or a Black American nationalist, not a Pan-Africanist. They don't say Pan-African in their actual in the article here. I didn't see anything about Pan-Africanism, but that flag, those colors are the Pan-African flag colors. But let's go to their demands. Okay, I'm gonna skip past like this first little part here. It's like basically like a little preface to it, just basically crying about white supremacy and stuff like that. If you want to read the stuff before the demands, I'll put that in the description box below. But we're going to start right here where the actual demands start. Our demands are outlined as the following. We demand that all students, undergraduate and graduate, to have appropriate, ongoing, and mandatory coursework that deals with issues of identity, such as race, class, religion, ability, status, sexual, romantic orientation, gender, citizenship status, etc. Hold on. You sitting here crying about there's too many Africans in the school and too many Caribbean blacks in the school, but yet you want to talk about citizenship status. You just said that you want to have, I'll probably read this a little bit later. You want to have a focus be on African Americans that have been here for at least 2 generations, but then you want to talk about citizenship status. What are you doing? Like, you're just repeating things you've heard throughout your life. You're not making any sense, but we're going to keep going. We want this coursework to be explicitly focused on systems of power and privilege in the United States and censoring the voices of oppressed people, assembled by professional diversity consultants and student leaders. Every dean of every college should implement this requirement, hire faculty to teach this work who are well equipped to do so. We believe that our community has a responsibility to learn about the ways in which systems of power and privilege continue to inform the experiences of people of color, both on campus and out in the world. We believe mandatory coursework will provide an initial means of challenging and dismantling the white hegemony that pervades the university's present curriculum. We demand that all employees of the university, academic and otherwise, including tenured professors, to have appropriate ongoing training tied to evaluations and payroll that deals with issues of identity such as race, class, religion, ability status, sexual romantic orientation, gender, citizenship status, etc. We want this coursework to be explicitly focused on systems of power and privilege in the United States and centering voices of oppressed people. Didn't they just say that? I don't understand. Okay. So you want the students to have that coursework and also the teachers. I got it. Why didn't you just say teachers and students? Like, I don't understand. We believe that if the university truly wants to foster an environment of inclusion for all students, we should see this support in the university's commitment to ensuring that those entrusted to guide our academic pursuits possess a meaningful understanding and sincere respect for the cultures, heritages, and backgrounds of their students. We believe this principle holds true across all areas of study, and that this objective is best achieved when educators are in themselves reflections of the students that they serve. We believe that tenure should not pose a challenge to this commitment, given that these professors should be leaders in the Cornell community. That's just somebody just hating on tenure. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of tenure myself, but that's a whole different issue. They're just trying to conflate different things in this one thing here, and I think that's just kind of weird. Let's keep going. We demand that Chi, chapter of Psi Upsilon fraternity, incorporated at Cornell University, is permanently banned from campus, in addition to their letters being taken off of the fraternity house. We also demand that all students involved in this heinous hate crime be expelled from the university immediately. Okay, whatever happened, I don't even know what happened with that. You know, you can hear little stuff, but it's whatever. The fraternity has a legacy of racism, discrimination, and disrespect on Cornell's campus dating back almost 50 years. At the Willard Straight Hall takeover in 1969, members of the Chi chapter of Psi Upsilon fraternity broke down the barriers of the building and verbally and physically assaulted black students participating in the takeover. 40 years later, the then president of Chi chapter of Psi Upsilon University Incorporated, Wolfgang Ballinger, pled guilty to a misdemeanor after being accused of sexual assault. Following that incident, members of the fraternity were on probation for a period of 2 years, where they could neither be active on campus nor accept new members. However, the fraternity was still participating in underground pledging, as well as membership intake, despite Cornell's discipline. And lastly, the members participating in a racial, physical, and verbal assault on campus is simply despicable. Their racist legacy does not deserve a space on this campus. We demand that the university provide an adequate and appropriate space for the people of African diaspora to utilize for programs of any kind in perpetuity. We propose that this space be the Psi Upsilon house after they expelled from campus. So really, is it a whole big ruse here? Is it a whole big attention grabber just to get that house for yourself because you don't have one right now? Is that what it is? I'm not really sure, but that's kind of what it seems like. But let's keep moving. We believe that almost 110 years after the founding of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated on Cornell's campus, it is preposterous that multicultural Greek organizations have to scramble for space and money while majority white organizations have comparatively unbounded resources. Well, whose fault is that? Like, I don't understand. Where's the money coming from? I mean, where's it coming from? Is it coming from people that are alumni? Is it coming from the students themselves, their parents? Where's the money coming from? You guys are here on scholarship. You probably come from families that either don't have money or don't want to spend it. The kids probably have a lot of money that go to this school, even if, you know, they came here on scholarship. So I don't understand what's the problem. You know, just tighten up, get some money together. Okay. It continues. And access to space. Often black organizations have to rent space, which causes them to have to hire police security. This is expensive and unfair. Us, as students of color, should not find themselves policed when they gather to celebrate. Well, I mean, what happens when somebody gets hurt and then you say, where's the security? You need to be policed. You got a higher incident of problems happening at black events. Why would it not be policed? That's for your protection, not for just to harass you or something like that. We believe these organizations play a larger role in our communities, and with more direct support from the university, they will be able to better achieve their primary functions of sister, brotherhood, service, and scholarship. We demand that IFC, Pan-Hellenic, and MGLC organizations have required and sustained diversity and inclusion, race-based training prior to entering the fraternity or sorority, and every year that they are in that fraternity or sorority. Time and time again, minority students are subject to racist treatment by members of IFC, Pan-Hellenic organizations. A few years ago, members of Sigma Pi fraternity threw bottles of beer by yelling "Trayvon" as black students walked up the Lib slope. Last week, members of Zeta Psi fraternity shouted in front of the Latino Living Center, "Let's build a wall around LLC." And a little over a week later, members of Psi Upsilon beat up a black man and call him the N-word. I need some citation for that. If that happened, that's not good, but let's get some proof. Clearly, there is a lack of education when it comes to the respect of minorities on Cornell's campus. By having a diversity and inclusion race training prior to entering IFC Pan-Hellenic organizations, members will be educated about the complexities of race and the importance of positive race relations, not only on campus, but also throughout their lives as they enter the graduate school, the workforce, etc. We demand that a minority liaison at large position is created for the university assembly so that the assembly reflects our marginalized perspectives. Okie dokie. Now, who's that going to be? Probably somebody from your group, from your camp. Whereas the student assembly has appointed minority liaison at large positions to emulate the diverse views of Cornell's marginalized community, we want this university assembly to add a minority liaison at large position to make sure that we have more representation in decisions that affect our safety and ability to thrive at Cornell. This should go into effect immediately as part of the upcoming election cycle. Oh, wow. A minority liaison has proven to be effective on the student assembly, and we would like the university assembly to follow this precedent. It's a bunch of nothing. We demand that Cornell Health to hire at least 2 more psychologists and psychiatrists of color in the next 2 years. We also want Cornell Health to hire at least 1 more physician of color in the next 4 years. I mean, what does the color of the person got, and what does of color mean? Does it mean somebody black? What if they hire somebody that is African? How would you feel about that? Or somebody that came from Jamaica? Oh boy. That'd be the ultimate triggering right there. But you said of color, you're not being specific. These demands are not really very well laid out. I must say, we believe and research shows that people of color historically have reason to mistrust medical professionals. We believe that there should be qualified psychologists and psychiatrists of color that can sufficiently address the way that racism affects the mental and emotional health and well-being of black students at a predominantly white institution. We also believe that hiring more physicians of color can make students of color more comfortable addressing their physical health while at the university. We demand that there be a creation of a student honor board or alternative justice board as an alternate method for Cornell's dispute resolution process. Currently, only faculty have the power to discipline students at Cornell. I mean, who else is supposed to be, who else should? Should you be able to do it? Let's keep going. In order to increase student power, we are demanding the creation of a student honor board who will oversee various judicial cases. Students should be able to have a direct say in the punishment of their peers. No. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. That's like employees trying to dictate how their coworker going to be disciplined. That's not how that works. Student honor boards allow for the resolution of student situations on a case-by-case basis that the university either does not have a mechanism to resolve or is too busy to resolve. Additionally, most honor boards use suspension, academic sanctions, and/or community service hours as punishment, which allows the individual or party being punished to resolve their issue without leaving the school, and more importantly, force them to contribute back to their community. The creation of the honor board will work to restore student trust in Cornell's judicial system and ensure justice in these cases. We demand that Cornell Admissions come up with a plan to actively increase the presence of underrepresented black students on this campus. We define underrepresented black students as black Americans who have several generations, more than 2, in this country. We read this earlier. This was in the article, but we're just going to kind of rehash it one more time. The black student population at Cornell disproportionately represents international or first generation African or Caribbean students. While these students have a right to flourish at Cornell, there is a lack of investment in black students whose families were affected directly by the African Holocaust in America. Cornell must work to actively support students whose families have been impacted for generations by white supremacy and American fascism. Oh boy. So they're going to be Antifa next, I suppose. Okay. Here we are at the end. We want the creation of a permanent presidential task force for student community leaders to have biannual meetings with the current president of the university. So you want to sit down and talk to the man, right? And air your grievances. Hopefully you won't do any yelling or anything like that. In 2014, the Cornell administration released the Hurtado Report, an in-depth study of Cornell's campus climate. The report concluded with several requests of the administration based on the results of the study to improve campus climate. Cornell has not acknowledged these requests, and the report was forgotten as the students involved in the report graduated. There is a loss of institutional memory as students become leaders in the community, identify issues, and come up with appropriate solutions, and then graduate. The permanent creation of this task force will allow for Cornell to stop taking one step forward, two steps back when it comes to ending white supremacy on campus. Look, maybe I'm just a simple guy. I'm not really that complicated. I'm pretty easygoing. I'm not really that difficult to grasp. But if I don't like the college I'm going to a different one. I've been to two colleges. I went to a community college, and then I went to a 4-year. And I was going to go to another 4-year before I came to the one I went to. But when I went there, things weren't going right. Like from the beginning, like I was trying to have a meeting with the guy to give me my course schedule. And he was never on time. Car was breaking down. I was like, you know what? I don't have time for this. So I saw problems from the beginning. So if these students feel like they are being, air quotes, oppressed by the college, why continue to go there? Why write this lengthy letter of demands that won't get met just because you feel unhappy? Why not just take your money, take yourself, your person to a different place and empower that place? That's the whole beauty of college. It is school choice because you don't have to go to Cornell. You can go somewhere else. Why stay there if you have such a bad time? And in reality, all the demands are just nonsense. But let's keep going and finish, and then I'll just give you my final couple of thoughts. We demand the creation of an anti-racism institute where Cornell can centralize its efforts to educate the campus and community about the horrors of white supremacy. Hold on, I got to move this up a little bit so you can see it. And political education. Cornell has a variety of decentralized efforts to address racial bias on campus. Programs such as the Intergroup Dialogue Program, Engaged Cornell, the Skills for Success Program, and other are important. But if Cornell is going to commit to changing campus climate, they must create a centralized department or program that has the explicit purpose of fighting racism. We demand that the university hire a position in the Engaged Council to ensure Cornell is supporting the local black community in Ithaca. Black Americans, not Africans or the Caribbeans, I suppose. Cornell has a history of not giving enough back to the Ithaca community. Ithaca is a segregated city, and it is imperative that Cornell puts as much efforts and resources into supporting the African American population in Ithaca that began with the Underground Railroad as it puts into the white community just below our hill. We appreciate what has been done already, but continue to fight for the betterment of this institution. We implore the administration to act swiftly and stand on the right side of history. Black Students United. Okay. Man, oh man. I think this is just really crazy because, like I said, if it was me and I was not enjoying the stay at my school, if the school was not enriching me like I thought it should, then I wouldn't go there. I would go somewhere else. That's, like I said, that's the beauty of college. It's school choice. You can go wherever you want to go. If you do not like where you're at right now, go to a different school. You can transfer. You could do whatever you want. You could drop out. You can just go work and do whatever. You're an adult. You have the ability to make your own decisions. You're trying to cry for things to become better at a place you're paying for. I mean, how much, like, it doesn't make any sense. You're paying money to go to this school and you're crying that it's not good enough. The easy solution would be to go somewhere else. And all this stuff about white supremacy and stuff like that, this is just imaginary things. You talk about the Hurtado report. It probably was something that some student and their friends wrote as a school project. It wasn't really anything. You guys are adults now. You guys are over 18. You're adults. You can go fight in the war. You need to be able to handle your own affairs without trying to beg people, right? If I'm unhappy, I'm going to go somewhere else, and you should too. But what do you think? People out there that are watching it that are not part of the Black Students United at Cornell, Do you think they're just, waxing poetic? They're, a lot of spoiled kids. They don't really know what's going on. They've not really experienced the world in a broad sense quite yet. So they're still just trying to feel what's going on. They're not really all the way 100% on target with what they need to be yet. Or are their concerns valid? Should it be more focused on Black Americans rather than Africans or the Caribbeans? Now, if that's the case, then why would they talk about stuff like, inclusion and integration? Why would that be on the list of things to do if it's all about, I think they're confused. I think what's really going on here is that they do not like the school that they're at. Go somewhere else. And you feel like there's too many people from other countries. Well, you should be on my side. You should be a nationalist, right? But if you're a Pan-Africanist, you have to understand that Africans, people from the Caribbean, Latin America, if they're Black, they are on your side. It doesn't matter. So you can't say focus only on Black Americans while at the same time being Pan-African. Pan-African is about all African nations working together. So take off that red, black, and green. Take off the black fist. Stop all that. Just be an American. I think you'll enjoy your life and your stay at Cornell much better. But whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.